The alien princess removed her armor in front of me. "Do not look away. Human, I need your help," she said. Part 1. The stars were quiet that night. They were always quiet, of course. Space had no sound. But Danny Cole liked to think of it that way. He stood near the observation window of the research vessel Endeavour and watched the distant lights of 1,000 suns. 3 years he'd been stationed here, studying rocks and dust and the empty space between worlds. Nothing exciting ever happened. Danny was 28 years old, with brown hair that never stayed neat and tired eyes that had seen too many boring shifts. He had joined the Earth Space Corps to explore the unknown, to find something amazing. Instead, he had found paperwork and asteroid samples and the same recycled air every single day. He was about to return to his bunk when the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed across the ship. The calm voice of the computer announced that an unidentified vessel had entered the asteroid field near their position. Danny ran to the bridge, his heart beating fast for the first time in months. Captain Lisa Monroe was already there, her gray hair pulled back tight, her face showing no emotion. She was 52 years old and had commanded the Endeavour for 6 years. Nothing surprised her anymore. At least, that was what Danny had always believed. "Report," she said calmly. The navigation officer, a young woman named Sophie Bell, was staring at her screen with wide eyes. "Captain," the ship came out of nowhere. It dropped out of faster-than-light travel right in the middle of the asteroid field. "It is damaged. Badly damaged. It is going to crash." "What kind of ship?" Monroe asked. Sophie shook her head. "Unknown design. Not human. Not anything in our database." The bridge went silent. Not human. In 180 years of space travel, humanity had found only empty worlds and dead civilizations. They had never met another living species. Until now, they watched on the main screen as the alien ship tumbled through the asteroids. It was beautiful, Danny thought. Long and elegant, with curves and angles that no human engineer would design. It was also dying. Fire poured from its engines, and pieces of its hull broke away with each impact. Then it hit a large asteroid and stopped moving. "Life signs?" Monroe asked. Dr. Amy Tran, the ship's medical officer, checked her scanner. She was a small woman with kind eyes and steady hands. "I am reading something, Captain. Faint. But there is someone alive on that ship." Danny stepped forward before he could stop himself. "Captain, we have to help them." Monroe looked at him. Her eyes were hard. "Lieutenant Cole, we do not know what is on that ship. It could be dangerous. It could be carrying disease. It could be a trap. Or it could be a person who needs help," Danny said. "Is that not why we are out here? To explore? To learn? To be better than we were on Earth?" The captain was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "Prepare a shuttle. Cole, you wanted excitement. You just volunteered. Take a team of 3 and investigate. Do not take any risks. If you see anything dangerous, you come back immediately." Danny grabbed 2 security officers, a man named Jack Harris and a woman named Maria Santos, and they took the shuttle across the asteroid field. The trip was short but tense. None of them spoke. They were all thinking the same thing. They were about to be the first humans to meet an alien species. The crashed ship was even more impressive up close. Its metal was silver and gold, covered in symbols that Danny could not read. They found an opening in the hull where the damage had torn it apart and climbed inside. The interior was dark, except for emergency lights that flickered red and blue. The air was thin but breathable. Danny moved forward slowly, his flashlight cutting through the shadows. They found bodies first. Alien bodies. They looked almost human, but taller and thinner, with skin that seemed to shift between blue and purple. They wore armor that looked like it had been made by artists, not soldiers. Beautiful and deadly at the same time. All of them were dead, wounds on their bodies showing they had died fighting. What happened here? Maria whispered. Danny did not answer. He had heard something. A sound, breathing. He moved toward it, stepping over the fallen aliens. Until he reached a room at the center of the ship. She was there. She sat against the wall. Her armor cracked and broken, her blue skin covered in blood. But her eyes were open, and they were the most striking thing Danny had ever seen. Gold, like liquid metal, staring at him with a mixture of fear and defiance. "Human," she said. Her voice was weak but clear. She was speaking his language, which seemed impossible, but Danny did not have time to wonder about that. "You found me." He knelt beside her. "We are here to help. Can you move?" She laughed, but it turned into a cough. "I am Vela Cathara, third daughter of the sovereign emperor of the Dominion. I have been running for 6 days. My guards are dead. My ship is destroyed. And you ask if I can move." Danny looked at Jack and Maria. They both looked terrified. He understood why. This was not just an alien. This was royalty. This was politics and war and things far bigger than a small research vessel. But she was also wounded and alone and asking for help. "Your Highness," Danny said, using the title because it seemed right, "we can take you to our ship. Our doctor can help you. But I need you to trust me." Vela studied his face for a long moment. "Why would you help me? You do not know me. You do not know what helping me will cost you." Danny thought about her question. He thought about all the reasons to leave her here, to walk away, to pretend they had never found the ship. Then he thought about who he wanted to be. "Because you need help," he said simply, "and I can give it." Something changed in her golden eyes. The fear faded, replaced by something that might have been hope. "Then I will trust you, human. But know this, there are others coming for me. They will not stop. And if they find me on your ship, they will destroy you all." Danny helped her to her feet, taking her weight on his shoulder. She was tall, almost a head taller than him, but she leaned on him without hesitation. "Let them come," he said. "They have not met humans before." They carried her back to the shuttle, and as they flew toward the Endeavor, Danny looked at the princess beside him. She had closed her eyes, exhausted, but her hand gripped his arm like she was afraid he would disappear. He did not know what was coming. He did not know what enemies were hunting her or what war he had just stepped into. But he knew one thing for certain. His boring life on the Endeavor was over. The alien princess removed her armor in front of me. "Do not look away. Human, I need your help," she said. Part 2. The medical bay of the Endeavor was small and white and very human. Vela looked strange lying on the examination table, her tall body too long for the bed, her blue skin bright against the pale sheets. Her golden eyes watched everything, studying the machines, the lights, the people who moved around her. Dr. Amy Tran stood beside her with a scanner in her hand and frustration on her face. "Captain, I cannot help her. The armor is blocking everything. I cannot see her wounds. I cannot check her organs. I cannot do anything." Captain Monroe crossed her arms. "Can we remove the armor?" "It is not that simple," Vela said. Her voice was stronger now, but pain still hid behind every word. "The armor is bonded to me. It responds only to my commands. And removing it is not something done lightly in my culture." Danny stood in the corner of the room, watching. He had been assigned as her liaison, the person responsible for communication between the princess and the crew. He did not know why the captain had chosen him. Maybe because he had been the one to find her. Maybe because she had held on to him during the shuttle ride and refused to let go until they reached the ship. "What do you mean?" Danny asked. "Why is removing armor such a big deal?" Vela turned her golden eyes to him. In the Dominion, armor is more than protection. It is identity. It is honor. To wear armor is to show strength. To remove it before another person is to show complete trust. Complete vulnerability. It is done only for family. For those we are bonded to. For those we would die for. The room was silent. Dr. Tran looked uncomfortable. Captain Monroe's expression did not change, but Danny could see her thinking. If you do not remove the armor, you may die, the doctor said gently. Your wounds are severe. I can see that much even without my scanners. You are bleeding internally. You have burns. You need treatment now, not later. Vela closed her eyes. When she opened them again, there was something new there. A decision. Leave us, she said. All of you except the human who found me. Monroe raised an eyebrow. Lieutenant Cole? Why him? Because he carried me from my ship. Because he looked at me and saw a person who needed help, not an alien to fear. Because when I held his arm, he did not pull away. Vela's voice was steady. If I am to trust anyone on this ship with my vulnerability, it will be him. The captain looked at Danny for a long moment. Then she nodded. Dr. Tran, prepare everything you need. You will return when the armor is removed. Lieutenant Cole, you understand the importance of what is happening here. Danny nodded, even though he was not sure he understood it all. The room emptied. The door closed. And Danny was alone with an alien princess who was about to show him something sacred. Vela sat up slowly, pain crossing her face with every movement. She looked at Danny with those impossible golden eyes. Come closer, she said. Stand before me. Danny moved to stand in front of her. His heart was beating so loud he was sure she could hear it. In my culture, Vela began, what I'm about to do would bind us together. Not as lovers, not as family, but as something else. You would become my witness, my protector, the one who saw me at my weakest and did not turn away. Do you understand? I think so, Danny said. There is no thinking. You must know. If you are my witness, you carry a piece of my honor. My enemies become your enemies. My battles become your battles. This is not a small thing. Danny thought about her words. He thought about the life he had been living, the endless boring days, the feeling that nothing he did mattered. And he thought about this woman in front of him, wounded and hunted and far from home, asking him to be something important. I understand, he said. I will be your witness. Something shifted in Vela's expression. It might have been relief. It might have been gratitude. It might have been something else entirely. She raised her hand and pressed it against the center of her chest. The armor began to glow, soft blue light spreading from her fingers across the metal. Then, piece by piece, it began to fall away. First the gauntlets covering her hands, dropping to the floor with a sound like ringing bells. Then the arm guards, revealing skin that was not just blue but marked with patterns. Lines of darker color that swirled across her flesh like rivers on a map. The chest plate came next, and Danny saw the wounds beneath. Burns and cuts and one terrible hole where something had punched through. Do not look away, human, Vela said. I need your help. Danny kept his eyes on hers. He did not flinch. He did not turn. The leg armor fell. The back piece. The boots. Until Vela sat before him in only the thin underlayer that all warriors wore beneath their armor. Her body broken and bleeding, her secrets exposed. She was shaking. Danny realized with surprise that she was afraid. This powerful princess, this warrior who had killed her attackers and survived a crash that had destroyed her ship, was afraid of being seen without her armor. He did the only thing he could think of. He took off his jacket, the simple uniform jacket that all crew members wore, and he placed it around her shoulders. I see you, he said quietly, and I am not going anywhere. Vela stared at him. Then, slowly, she smiled. It was a small smile, barely there, but it changed her whole face. She was beautiful, Danny realized. Not in the way human women were beautiful, but in her own way. Strong and proud and absolutely unique. "You are strange, human," she said. "I told you that helping me would bring danger, and you did not run. I showed you my vulnerability, and you gave me your coat. In my galaxy, strength is everything. Kindness is weakness. But you do not seem to know that. Maybe that is why humans have survived," Danny said. "We help each other. It is what we do." The door opened, and Dr. Tran returned with her team. She stopped when she saw Vela, taking in the wounds that were now visible. Her face went pale. "How are you still alive?" The doctor whispered. Vela looked at Danny. "I am stubborn. It is a family trait." The next hours were difficult. Dr. Tran worked without stopping, cleaning wounds, sealing burns, repairing damage that should have killed Vela 3 times over. Danny stayed in the room, sitting in the corner, watching. Vela had asked him to stay, and he had agreed. He was her witness now. He would not leave her alone. As the doctor worked, Vela talked. She told Danny about the Dominion, an empire that stretched across 10,000 worlds, ruled by her father, the sovereign emperor. She told him about her cousin, a man named Kale, who had grown tired of waiting for power and had decided to take it. She told him about the night the assassins came, how she had fought them with her guards, how she had watched her friends die one by one until only she remained. "I ran," she said. There was shame in her voice. "I ran, and I kept running until I crashed in your asteroid field. I am not proud of it." "You survived," Danny said. "That takes courage, too." Vela was quiet for a moment. "My father always said I was too soft for a princess. Too caring. He wanted me to be hard like my sisters, cold like my brothers. But I could never be that way. I always wondered if it made me weak." Danny shook his head. "Caring about others is not weakness. It takes more strength to care than to be cold. Trust me, I have seen both." The princess looked at him with those golden eyes, and Danny felt like she was seeing something inside him that even he did not know was there. "Perhaps," she said quietly, "humans are not as primitive as the Dominion believes." By morning, Dr. Tran had done everything she could. Vela was stable. She would survive. But she needed rest, and she needed time, and Danny knew they might not have either, because somewhere out there, the people who wanted her dead were still looking, and soon they would find her. The alien princess removed her armor in front of me. "Do not look away. Human, I need your help," she said. Part 3. 3 days passed on the Endeavor. 3 days of quiet waiting while Vela healed, and Danny learned everything he could about the galaxy he had never known existed. The Dominion was old. Older than human civilization. Older than the pyramids, older than the first cities, older than almost anything Danny could imagine. 12,000 years they had ruled the stars, spreading across the galaxy like a great wave, conquering or absorbing every species they met. Humans had simply been too small to notice. A young species on a single world, just beginning to reach for the stars. The Dominion had marked Earth as unimportant and moved on. But now that was about to change. Vela sat with Danny in the small room that had become hers, teaching him the language of her people, the history of her empire, the names of the enemies who wanted her dead. She was wearing human clothes now, simple pants and a shirt that the crew had given her. Without her armor, she seemed smaller somehow, more real. "Kale has been planning this for years," she explained. "He is my father's nephew, the son of my uncle, who died in battle. He believes the throne should have gone to his family. He believes my father is weak, too peaceful, too willing to talk instead of fight. And you? Danny asked. What do you believe? Vela was quiet for a moment. I believe the Dominion has conquered enough. I believe we should build instead of destroy. I believe my father is right. She looked at Danny with sad eyes. That is why Kale wants me dead most of all. My brothers do not care about politics. My sisters support whoever is winning. But I have spoken against Kale in the council. I have opposed him publicly. He cannot let me live. Danny nodded slowly. He was beginning to understand. This was not just about power. This was about the future of an empire, and Vela was one of the few people willing to fight for a better path. Your crashed ship, Danny said. You mentioned it had something important. Something Kale wanted to keep hidden. Vela smiled, but there was no happiness in it. My ship's computer holds proof. Messages between Kale and our ancient enemy, the Collective. He did not plan this coup alone. He made a deal with creatures who have been at war with the Dominion for 6,000 years. If the Loyalists knew this, they would turn against him immediately. Even his own supporters would not accept alliance with the Collective. Then we need to get that proof, Danny said. We need to broadcast it. The ship is destroyed. The computer may not have survived. And even if it did, Kao's forces will be here soon. He has sent Admiral Sirac, one of his most loyal commanders. The Admiral will not let us reach the wreckage. Danny stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the asteroid field floated in silence. Thousands of rocks spinning slowly through the darkness. Somewhere in that field was the crashed ship. And somewhere beyond it, an enemy was coming. How long do we have? He asked. I do not know. Hours. Maybe less. Danny turned to face her. Then we better start planning. They spent the next hour in the bridge with Captain Monroe and the senior crew. Danny explained what Vela had told him, the proof on the crashed ship, the importance of broadcasting it to the Dominion fleet. The captain listened without interrupting, her face showing nothing. You want us to fight an alien warship, Monroe said when Danny finished. A ship that has technology thousands of years more advanced than ours. A ship with weapons that could destroy us in seconds. You want us to do this for proof that may or may not exist on a wreck that may or may not have survived. Yes, Danny said simply. And if we fail, everyone on this ship dies. Humanity makes first contact with an alien empire by being vaporized. That is what you are asking. Danny looked at Vela, then back at the captain. If we do nothing, she dies. The proof is lost. Kale wins his war and becomes emperor. And then what? You said it yourself, Captain. The Dominion has been ignoring humanity because we are too small to notice. But what happens when a warlike emperor takes the throne? How long before Earth becomes another conquered world? Monroe was silent. Around the bridge, the crew exchanged nervous glances. Sophie Bell, the young navigator, spoke first. He is right. If what the princess says is true, this affects more than just her. This affects all of us. All of Earth. Kevin Park, the chief engineer, nodded slowly. I did not sign up to fight aliens. But I did not sign up to be a coward either. One by one, the crew spoke. Dr. Tran, Jack Harris, and Maria Santos. Communications officer Ben Liu. Each of them said the same thing in different words. They were scared. They knew the odds. But they were not going to run. Captain Monroe looked at her crew, and for the first time since Danny had known her, she smiled. Well then, it seems we are going to fight a warship. Mr. Park, what do we have that can hurt them? Kevin shook his head. Our weapons are designed for clearing asteroids, not combat. Our shields can barely handle micrometeorites. But I have some ideas. Crazy ideas. Human ideas. I want to hear them, Monroe said. The next hours were chaos. Kevin worked in engineering. rewiring systems that were never meant to connect, pushing the Endeavor's technology beyond its limits. Sophie plotted courses through the asteroid field, finding paths so dangerous that no sane pilot would fly them. Ben worked on communications, preparing to broadcast on every frequency the moment they had the proof. And Danny sat with Vela, learning the command codes for her crashed ship, memorizing the location of the beacon that held the evidence they needed. "You are not coming with me," Danny said. "You are still injured. You need to stay on the Endeavor." Vela shook her head. "I am your witness now. Where you go, I go. That is how it works." "That is not how it works. You explained the tradition. The witness is supposed to protect the one who showed vulnerability, not the other way around." "Then perhaps I am changing the tradition." Vela's golden eyes met his. "You carried me from my ship. You held my hand when I was afraid. You gave me your coat when I was exposed. I will not let you face this alone." Danny wanted to argue, but he could see she would not change her mind. He had learned that about her in the past 3 days. Once Vela decided something, she did not back down. "Fine," he said, "but stay behind me. And if I tell you to run, you run." Vela smiled. "I told you, human. I am done running." The alarm sounded at exactly 0300 hours. The Crimson Blade, Admiral Surak's warship, dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the asteroid field. It was massive, 5 times the size of the Endeavor, covered in weapons and armor that made Vela's crashed ship look like a toy. On the bridge, Captain Monroe stood firm as the view screen filled with the enemy vessel. "Open a channel," she ordered. Admiral Surak's face appeared. He was old for a Dominion warrior, his blue skin marked with scars, his eyes cold and cruel. He looked at Monroe with the disgust of someone stepping on an insect. "Human vessel?" he said. His voice was translated through the ship's computer, but the contempt needed no translation. "You are harboring a criminal, the traitor Vela Kethara. You will surrender her immediately." Monroe did not flinch. "She has requested asylum. Under Earth law, she is under our protection." Surak laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Earth law? Your species has been in space for less than 2 centuries. You are children playing with toys you do not understand. The Dominion has ruled for 12,000 years. You will comply, or you will burn." Danny stepped forward, Vela beside him. "We know about the Collective," he said. "We know about Kale's alliance. We have proof." The Admiral's expression changed. For just a moment, fear flickered in his eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by rage. "You are bluffing." That proof was destroyed with her ship. "Maybe," Danny said. "Maybe not. Are you willing to take that chance?" Surak's face twisted with hatred. "Kill them all," he said. "Leave nothing." The transmission ended. On the screen, the Crimson Blade powered its weapons, energy building along its hull. Monroe turned to her crew. "You heard him. Battle stations. And may God help us all." The battle for humanity's future was about to begin. The alien princess removed her armor in front of me. "Do not look away. Human, I need your help," she said. Part 4. The first shot from the Crimson Blade missed the Endeavor by less than 50 meters. The energy beam sliced through the darkness of space, vaporizing a small asteroid and lighting up the void like a second sun. On the bridge, the crew felt the heat even through the shields. "Evasive action," Captain Monroe ordered. Her voice was calm, but Danny could see her hands gripping the armrest of her chair. Sophie Bell was already moving, her fingers dancing across the navigation controls. The Endeavor twisted hard to the left, diving toward the asteroid field. Another shot screamed past them, so close the hull groaned with the pressure. "They are too fast," Sophie said. We cannot outrun them in open space. Then do not go to open space, Monroe replied. Take us into the field. Deep into the field. Sophie nodded and pushed the ship forward. The Endeavour plunged into the asteroid field, weaving between massive rocks that spun slowly in the ancient dance of gravity. Behind them, the Crimson Blade followed Dot in engineering. Kevin Park was working faster than he had ever worked in his life. Wires sparked. Machines hummed with power they were never designed to hold. Sweat dripped down his face as he connected the last cable and stepped back. It is ready, he said into his communicator. But I can only give you one shot. After that, the whole system burns out. One shot is all we need, Monroe replied. On my signal, Danny and Vela were in the shuttle bay, preparing the small craft that would take them to the crashed ship. Maria Santos was with them, checking the shuttle systems, making sure everything was ready. You know this is crazy, right? Maria said. Flying through a battle zone to reach a wreck that might not even have what you need. Danny smiled. I have been told that humans are good at crazy. Vela looked at him with something like admiration. You make jokes in the face of death. I did not expect that. If I stopped to think about how scared I am, I would not be able to move. So I make jokes instead. It is a human thing. The ship shook as another shot hit their shields. The lights flickered. Somewhere in the distance, an alarm was screaming. Go now, Monroe's voice came through the communicator. We are about to make our move. You will have a small window to reach the wreck. Do not waste it. Danny climbed into the shuttle's pilot's seat. Vela sat beside him, and Maria took position in the back. The bay doors opened, and the chaos of the asteroid field filled their view. Here we go, Danny said, and launched the shuttle into the darkness. On the bridge, Captain Monroe watched the shuttle disappear into the field. Then she turned to Sophie. Bring us around. I want the Crimson Blade directly behind us. Sophie looked confused but obeyed. The Endeavour turned, putting the massive warship on their tail. More shots came, but Sophie dodged them with impossible skill, using the asteroids as shields, flying paths that should have killed them 10 times over. The Crimson Blade grew closer. Admiral Serac wanted to finish this personally. He wanted to watch the human ship die. Engineering, are you ready? Monroe asked. Ready as I will ever be, Kevin replied. Monroe waited. The Crimson Blade was nearly on top of them now, so close they could see individual weapon ports along its hull. One more shot would end them. Now, Monroe said. Kevin activated his creation. Every system on the Endeavour had been rerouted, every drop of power focused into a single pulse. The pulse erupted from the ship like a wave, invisible to the eye, but devastating to technology. It washed over the Crimson Blade, and for 5 precious seconds, every sensor on the warship went blind. Full speed ahead, Monroe ordered. Get us out of their line of fire. The Endeavour shot forward, diving deeper into the asteroid field. Behind them, the Crimson Blade drifted, confused and angry, its sensors showing nothing but static dot in the shuttle. Danny watched the explosion of the pulse on his screens. That was brilliant, Vela breathed. Your engineer disrupted their sensors without firing a single weapon. Humans do not fight fair, Danny said. We fight smart. They reached the crashed ship minutes later. It was worse than Danny remembered, broken and torn, pieces floating in the void around it. But the central section was still intact, and that was where Vela's computer would be. Wait here, Danny said to Maria. Keep the engines running. We might need to leave fast. He and Vela climbed out of the shuttle and drifted toward the wreck. In the distance, Danny could see the Crimson Blade recovering from the pulse, its weapons beginning to glow again. They did not have much time. Inside the crashed ship, everything was dark and cold. Danny turned on his helmet light and moved through the broken corridors, following Viola's directions. Bodies still floated in the darkness, her guards who had died protecting her. Vela paused for a moment, touching one of them gently. "His name was Torak," she whispered. "He was my friend since childhood. He died so I could escape." Danny took her hand. "Then let us make sure his death was not for nothing." They found the computer room. Most of the equipment was destroyed, but in the center, a small device still blinked with power. The beacon. Vela moved to it, entering the command codes Danny had memorized, and the device hummed to life. "It is all here," she said. "Every message. Every deal. Everything Kale did to betray the Dominion. Can we broadcast it?" Vela nodded. "But we need more range. The beacon is weak. It will only reach a short distance." Danny thought fast. The Endeavor's communication system. If we can connect the beacon to it, we can broadcast across the entire sector. That will take time. Time we do not have. An explosion rocked the wreck. Through the broken hole, Danny saw the Crimson Blade approaching, its weapons firing at the asteroid field, clearing a path toward them. "Then we make time," Danny said. They grabbed the beacon and ran back to the shuttle. Maria was waiting, the engines ready. Danny jumped into the pilot's seat and pushed the throttle forward. "The Crimson Blade is between us and the Endeavor," Maria said, checking her screens. "We cannot get past them." Danny smiled. It was not a happy smile. "Watch me." He flew the shuttle directly at the warship. Vela stared at him. "Are you insane?" "Probably." "Hold on." The shuttle raced toward the Crimson Blade, and for a moment, it looked like Danny was going to crash directly into it. But at the last second, he twisted the controls, diving under the massive ship, so close they could see the details on its hull. The warship's weapons could not target something so near. They were designed for enemies at a distance, not a tiny shuttle scraping against their belly. Danny flew along the underside of the Crimson Blade, using the warship itself as a shield from its own weapons. Alarm screamed. Vela was gripping her seat so hard, her knuckles turned white. Maria was saying words that Danny was pretty sure were curses in 3 different languages. Then they cleared the other side, and the Endeavor was right there, waiting for them. "Shuttle bay now," Danny shouted into the communicator. The bay doors opened, and Danny flew inside so fast that sparks flew from the landing gear. The doors closed behind them just as the Crimson Blade opened fire again, but the shot missed. The Endeavor was already moving, diving back into the asteroid field. The beacon safely aboard in the shuttle. Danny let out a breath he did not know he had been holding. That was, Vela started, then stopped. She seemed to be searching for the right word. That was the most terrifying and impressive thing I have ever seen. Danny laughed. It was the laugh of someone who had just survived the impossible. "Welcome to humanity, Your Highness. We are just getting started." They had the proof. Now they just had to broadcast it before Cyric destroyed them all. The alien princess removed her armor in front of me. "Do not look away. Human, I need your help," she said. Part 5. The Endeavor was shaking. Every few seconds, another shot from the Crimson Blade would hit their shields, and the ship would tremble like a leaf in a storm. Danny ran through the corridors, the beacon clutched in his arms. Vela right behind him. On the bridge, Captain Monroe was fighting for their lives. Sophie was flying impossibly well, dodging shots that should have destroyed them, using every asteroid as cover. But the shields were failing. The power was draining. They had minutes left, maybe less. "Status report," Monroe demanded. Kevin's voice came through the communicator, tired and stressed. "Shields at 12%. Engine power at 30%. That pulse I created drained almost everything we had." "Captain, We cannot take much more of this. Danny burst onto the bridge. I have the beacon. Ben, can you connect it to our communication system? Ben Liu took the device with careful hands. I can try, but it will take time to configure the frequencies. How much time? 5 minutes. Maybe more. Another shot hit the ship. The lights went out for a moment before the emergency power kicked in. 5 minutes. They did not have 5 minutes. Vela stepped forward. Let me help. I know Dominion technology. I can cut the time in half. Ben nodded and made room for her at the communication station. Her fingers flew across the controls, merging alien technology with human systems. Danny watched, feeling helpless, wishing there was something he could do. The Crimson Blade is closing, Sophie announced. They are done playing with us. They are coming in for the kill. Monroe made a decision. All hands, brace for impact. We are going to take some hits. Everyone hold on. She turned to Sophie. Put us behind the largest asteroid you can find. Use it as a shield. Buy them as much time as possible. Sophie found an asteroid nearly as big as their ship and hid behind it. The Crimson Blade shots hit the rock instead, sending chunks of stone flying in all directions. It would not hold for long, but it gave them precious seconds at the communication station. Vela and Ben worked together. Human and alien, side by side, trying to save both their peoples. Almost there, Vela said. Just a little more. The asteroid they were hiding behind cracked. A massive shot from the Crimson Blade had split it in two. Pieces of rock tumbled away, exposing the Endeavor to the enemy ship. They have a clear shot, Sophie said. Her voice was calm, but Danny could hear the fear beneath it. They are charging their main weapon. If that hits us, we are gone. Danny looked at the view screen. The Crimson Blade's central weapon was glowing bright, energy building for a shot that would vaporize them completely. He thought about his life, about all the boring days on this ship, about how much had changed in less than a week. He thought about Vela, about the trust she had given him, about the moment she had removed her armor and asked him not to look away. He was not going to let it end like this. Sophie, he said, can you fly us directly at them again? Like I did with the shuttle? Sophie's eyes went wide. The Endeavor is not a shuttle. We are too big. We cannot maneuver like that. But can you get us close? Close enough that their main weapon cannot target us? Sophie looked at Captain Monroe. The captain nodded slowly. I can try, Sophie said. But if I am wrong, we die. If you do nothing, we die anyway, Danny replied. At least this way, we have a chance. Sophie took a deep breath. Then she pushed the Endeavor forward, directly at the Crimson Blade. Admiral Sirac watched from his bridge as the tiny human ship charged toward him. He laughed. They've lost their minds. Destroy them. But his weapons officer hesitated. Admiral, they are too close. If we fire the main weapon at this range, the explosion will damage us as well. Then use the smaller weapons. Shoot them down. The Crimson Blade opened fire with everything it had. Shots rained on the Endeavor, tearing through the weakened shields, burning holes in the hull. But Sophie was flying like a demon, spinning the ship, using every piece of debris as cover. They were hit. They were damaged. But they were still moving. On the communication station, the beacon connected to the Endeavor system with a spark of light. It is ready, Vela shouted, then slammed his hand on the broadcast button. The message went out. Every frequency, every channel, every ship in the sector received it at once. The proof of Kale's betrayal. The messages between him and the collective. The plans to sell out the Dominion to its oldest enemy. All of it, broadcast for everyone to hear. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Crimson Blade stopped firing. Admiral, someone said on Sirac's bridge. We are receiving transmissions from the fleet. They have seen the proof. They are asking questions. Sirac's face turned pale. Ignore them. Destroy the human ship. Admiral, the Third Fleet is refusing to follow orders. The Seventh Fleet is demanding an explanation. Ships are breaking formation across the sector. On the Endeavor's view screen, Danny watched as the Crimson Blade's weapons powered down. The massive ship was still there, still dangerous, but it was not firing anymore. Around them, other ships were appearing, jumping out of faster-than-light travel. Dominion ships, but not Sirac's allies. These ships were marked with the crest of the Sovereign Emperor. Loyalists, Vela breathed. My father's forces. They received my beacon signal before the crash. They have been waiting at the edge of the system, waiting for the right moment. The Loyalist ships surrounded the Crimson Blade. Admiral Sirac was outnumbered 10-1. His own officers were refusing to fight. The proof of Kale's treachery had destroyed everything. A new transmission appeared on the Endeavor's screen. An older Dominion male with golden eyes just like Vela's. Danny recognized him from her descriptions. The Sovereign Emperor himself. Daughter, the Emperor said. His voice was deep and filled with emotion. You are alive. Vela stood straight, and Danny could see her fighting back tears. Yes, Father. I am alive. Because of these humans. They saved me. They protected me. They risked everything for me, a stranger from another world. The Emperor turned his golden eyes to Captain Monroe. Human Captain, my daughter tells me you are responsible for her survival, that you defied a warship of the Dominion to protect her. Monroe straightened. We did what was right, Your Majesty. Any decent person would have done the same. No, the Emperor said slowly. They would not. I have ruled for 300 years. I have seen species surrender their own children to save themselves. I have seen empires crumble because no one would stand against evil. What you did is rare. What you did is precious. He paused. The Dominion has ignored humanity for too long. That ends today. I would like to establish formal relations between our peoples. Danny felt the breath leave his body. This was it. This was the moment everything changed for humanity. And, the Emperor continued, my daughter has made a request. She wishes to serve as ambassador to your world. And she wishes to have a human liaison. Someone who has already proven himself worthy. Someone named Danny Cole. Everyone on the bridge turned to look at Danny. He felt his face getting hot. Vela walked over to him. She was smiling, that small smile he had come to know so well. You carried me when I was wounded, she said quietly, so only he could hear. You stayed when I was vulnerable. You fought when I could not. I told you that being my witness meant my battles become your battles. But it also means something else. She took his hand. It means you are part of my life now, and I do not want to face the galaxy without you. Danny looked at her golden eyes that had seen so much, at her blue skin marked with the patterns of her people, at the strength and the kindness that lived together inside her. Your Highness, he said formally. Then he smiled. Vela, I would be honored. She smiled back, and for just a moment, the war-hardened princess looked like something else entirely. She looked happy. The Emperor ended the transmission, promising to send escorts for the Endeavor, promising that the crew would be honored as heroes of the Dominion. Captain Monroe began giving orders, preparing for what came next, but Danny and Vela just stood there, holding hands, watching the stars through the damaged view screen. The galaxy is vast, Vela said, and there is so much I want to show you. Danny squeezed her hand. I have nowhere else to be. Behind them, Captain Monroe sighed loudly. Lieutenant Cole, if you are going to be an ambassador, you are going to need a promotion. And a lot of training. And new clothes. Danny laughed. Yes, ma'am. And Cole? Monroe's voice softened. Well done. Well done to all of us. The Endeavour limped toward the Loyalist fleet, battered but alive. A small research vessel that had challenged an empire and changed history. A crew of ordinary humans who had done extraordinary things. And somewhere among them, a human and a princess stood side by side, looking toward a future neither of them had expected. But both of them were ready to face, together.